Hello and welcome to your weekly tarot forecast for the week of July 21st through the 27th. If you're new here, I'm Michelle Shea Walker, and this is your glass half full perspective on the week ahead. If you're a paid subscriber or if you tipped your reader this week, be sure to stick around until the end of the video to find out if you won the personalized reading drawing. So this week is all about Leo energy. So if you've got Leo in your chart and Leo energy resonates with you, that's going to be a really important energy to embody this week. And if you don't, look at your Leo friends around you. Be able to be magnetic, be complimentary, be a little bit self-centered in the best of ways. There's a focus turning towards the self to better connect with the outside world that's happening this week. And it's because we have the sun moving into Leo, and then a few days later, we have a Leo new moon. There's other astrology happening as well, so I'll give you the day-to-day breakdown as well as the tarot cards for the week ahead. The birthday sale is officially over, but I did want to say that if you missed out and you want to do a personalized reading, that still has an offer that is 50% off your first session. So if you've never had a session as they appear on my website with me to now, what? If you've never had a session as the listings appear on my website now with me, you can get half off your reading. So that means if you had a regular Reiki session with me 10 years ago, you can do a body session with me now. If you had a regular tarot card reading with me 5 years ago, you can do a mind session with me now. So if you've never had a session called a body, mind, spirit, or star session, those are all available for first time, 50% off, one-time use with the code first time. That's 1STTIME. But if you look at the announcement bar at the top of michelleshewalker.com, you'll also see the code there at this current time. So if you missed out on the birthday sale, you can still get a discount on the readings only. If you missed out on the trainings or the long-term coaching, unfortunately, that doesn't have that same code, but you can get a personalized reading with me for 50% off. So check that out when you want. And we're going to dive into the cards now and get to a personalized reading later at the end. So we have Monday with relatively quiet astrology, which is great because we got a lot of astrology coming later in the week. So Monday is really about the tarot card, which was the High Priestess reversed. Now, sometimes the reverse energy of a card can be sort of like the darkened, unhealed version of an energy. This one I'm getting more of a internal focus for Monday. And it's interesting because the High Priestess is already pretty internally focused. She's all about her intuition. But this is really one that I'm kind of feeling like you're holding back purposefully on telling the world the things that your intuition is telling you. And it's not deceitful. You're not trying to avoid telling people the truth. You're just gathering the rest of the information. So if you are an actual intuitive person and you get hits on messages and things that you want to tell people, it's just like, wait, we're still giving you information. Don't say it quite yet until you feel like you have the whole story. If you don't consider yourself intuitive, you still are intuitive. Spoiler alert. But this could be working on a project in your life where you are still gathering information, you're doing research for something, and you're ready to pitch it down the line. But like today on Monday, you are still gathering that information. So stay open for inspiration, stay open for intuitive information to come through, stay open for the loose ends to kind of get tied up. And especially since we are in Mercury retrograde, there is a sensation of the Mercury retrograde of it all, giving us extra time to revise, review, and do more research. So this could be that you have a pitch, an idea, or even a communication in a relationship in your life that you want to convey, but you need to continue to gather the rest of the information just so you have a fully fleshed out pitch, a fully fleshed out argument. It's not so much that I feel like whatever you want to say now is wrong. It's that you want to get the stats, the research, the information to back up your argument, whatever that argument might be. That is Monday. I will say that there could be a little more meditation, a little more quiet time on Monday that's required. So if you can carve out some extra time in the day that you can be in stillness, not have any videos going on in the background, not have your phone in your hand, and see what comes forward, which I know is hard for us in our modern day life, but I believe in you. It is possible. So set your timer for 10 minutes, put your phone in another room, sit down someplace that nothing else is going on, and just see what comes up for you. It could be emotions that you need to cleanse and feel. It could be random inspiration that you want to follow through on, or it could be some inspiration for something else in your life. So just give yourself that time on Monday. Tuesday is when we get a lot of astrology hitting us. So before I get to the card, we're going to talk about what's happening in the stars. The big highlight of the day is the sun is moving into Leo. So we've got this beautiful energy. There's a reason the height of summer feels so flamboyant and extra and adventurous and exciting. That's that Leo sun energy. So it's definitely a good time to see and be seen. If you need to either embellish your own aesthetic or refine and make over your aesthetic, it's a good time for that. And it's definitely a good time to be unabashedly ashamed. Unabashedly unashamed. Is that what I want to say? Of whatever it is that you want to put out into the world. So be your biggest fan and believe that the rest of the world will like it or not like it, but you will find your audience with whatever it is that you're trying to do, convey, put out there, say. You will find your fans if you are your own fan. So that is Leo, the month of Leo energy. We also have the moon moving into Cancer in the earlier morning hours of the day before the sun moves into Leo. So we have this watery, emotional, kind of dramatic energy in one way for the moon in Cancer. And then Leo is dramatic in a more outwardly kind of more fun. This is honestly the energy that I'm getting from this is like very Chandler Bing on Friends. Like this is very much, we're going to take the internal struggle that feels a little more emotional and we're going to make it entertaining. We're going to make jokes. We're going to be able to transform this pain into someone else's pleasure. Or as Nora Ephron used to say, if you slip on a banana peel, that's a tragedy. But if you slip on the banana peel and you're the one telling the story later, that's comedy. So then it becomes your joke. I kind of butchered that quote, but you get to tell the joke of whatever tragedy happened in your past or whatever tragedy is going on within you. So that feels very dramatic. This could be in a lesser form for a lot of us, but just know that the silver lining of every deep innermost emotion is a sense of humor and a reason to laugh. Sometimes it takes time, but every thing that causes an intense emotion in us can ultimately become a little leviated. It can, words are hard, guys. Mercury is retrograde. Bear with me. There can be a little levity towards it in the past. Honestly, I am an Aquarius rising, so I find a reverent sense of humor about everything, sometimes inappropriately in life. So I truly believe that every tragedy is a comedy hidden within it. You just have to be able to flip your perspective or have enough time and distance from the tragedy to be able to see it. And honestly, I'd rather laugh than cry, even though I am a Cancer sun and a Pisces moon. I do like a good cry, but laughing is always the preferred method. And sometimes I'm crying to get to the laughter. And maybe that's what your moon in Cancer, sun, and Leo energy on Tuesday is going to give you. You cry it out so that you can get to the place that you can laugh about it. That's a very interesting energy come through, but again, I read the stars intuitively. So whatever wants to come forward comes forward. We also have Mars opposite the North Node on Tuesday. So this is our passion planet, sometimes our argumentative style with the North Node, our life missions, our true north, our direction that we're heading in with our karma this lifetime. And they're opposite one another. So moving towards our goals is going to feel a little bit in opposition to the action that we want to take, if that makes sense. Mars is a very impulsive energy. There's this feeling of there's a desire to act quickly on Tuesday, but then that's the quick action is kind of in opposition of your long-term goals, is what I'm getting from Mars opposite the North Node. So that also makes sense for Mercury being retrograde, because that is not about quick action. It's about taking things slow and steady and rechecking your routes and rechecking your work and revising things and there's basically just an overall energy right now of like, don't dive into the pool before you check to see if there's water, and then recheck to see if there's water, and then ask someone else to check that there is water. Like, that's the energy of a Mercury retrograde. And then this Mars opposite North Node energy is also bringing that into play. So it's not so much that you can't move towards the goals that you want. You just got to be slow and steady, and you got to recheck your work, because you want to get the actual thing that you desire and not realize that there's some fine print in the contract before you sign it that gives you something slightly different. So we also have Venus square the North Node. So these are both happening in the evening. Mars opposite North Node, 5:01 p.m. Central Standard Time in America. Venus square the North Node, 9:40 p.m. And that is basically our love, our creativity, our sense of beauty is also making a harsher angle, making things a little more difficult, kind of butting heads with the North Node, our life path and life. So the first thing I'm getting from this is make sure that as the sun's moving into Leo and you might be feeling a good like hair makeover, aesthetic makeover, it may not be the best day to make any aesthetic changes. So use that Leo energy to your advantage, but maybe don't do it the first day that the sun is in Leo. And then if you want to kind of embellish your aesthetic and be seen a little bit more vibrantly, you can start to consider that as we move into the later days of the week, later days of Leo season. Also keeping in mind that Mercury is still retrograde for the first several weeks. So if you are communicating with a hairstylist or someone that's going to be working with you on this new aesthetic, you want to make sure that those are really clear as well. So that might be the beginning of this like hiccup of like the first day in Leo is not the best time for that. So the card of the day on Tuesday is the Ten of Cups, which I love. This is a great energy. And honestly, this to me feels kind of like what Leo season feels like. We've got this like rainbow and the family out in nature and in the sunshine. And it really is, I mean, especially for myself living in Chicago, where we get like the 3 glorious months a year, if that, of beautiful patio season weather, as everyone likes to refer to it. We are definitely in the height of that energy during Leo season. We're in the height of that like summer, if you're in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, it's a different ballgame, but you can still have this sort of beautiful energy in your life, even if it's not summer. So we have this sort of like community and being out in the world and being in the sunshine and everything feeling happy and glorious and easy and connected. And that's the Ten of Cups energy. So I think that this Leo sun energy is really going to bring out our really social aspects of ourselves. We're going to be able to, but social in like a really connected, authentic way. This isn't sort of like going the party just to be at the party, although Leo does like to be see and be seen. There is this energy of making sure that we're going to social events that really mean something to us. They connect us with people that we either really want to connect with, or we already connected with, the people that are important to us. We're building longer term relationships and really making an authentic connection with those things. Because even though Leo energy gets kind of a bad rap for being a little more self-centered, there really is an authentic connection there. Like the love that Leo has for their own energy is just as mirroring back to the world the energy that they love the outside world as well. Like there's this beautiful relationship between those two connections. So that's what this is definitely conveying on Tuesday. So as we move into Wednesday, in the wee morning hours, we have the sun sextile Uranus. So our sense of self is having a little kiss of luck with Uranus, which is one of change. So maybe this is kind of ushering in an aesthetic change, a makeover, whether it be external or internal. And then we have Venus square Mars. So we have, again, another hard angle, this time between Mars, our passion, our action, our fighting style, and Venus, our love, our beauty, our aesthetic. So they're just not really agreeing with one another at that moment. And I don't get any huge hits as far as messages come off of this. I do think we are, since it's like 3:23 a.m. that's happening, we're kind of bleeding over from the same advice from yesterday in the morning hours on Wednesday, and then that energy kind of dissipates as the day goes on. So we're going to go to our card for what the bulk of the day is probably going to feel like, which is the Emperor reversed. So the Emperor is very good at being able to see the big picture of things in a very balanced, divine masculine sort of way. The Emperor knows how to plan the schedule, how to work hard, how to be able to create a container for more divine feminine, creative energy, be it in someone else or in themselves, and be able to put structure around the more fluid aspects of life. Like having both of those things is the ideal element of divine feminine, divine masculine union in yourself or in your relationships. But this is the divine masculine in a balanced state. Reversed, I could read it as unbalanced, but it feels more like we are using Wednesday coming out of this sort of like, wait before you make any big changes, don't rebrand yourself right now at this second. And the Emperor is giving us a time to turn inward and really reconnect to our mission statement. So whether it is that you're wanting to just do like a frivolous little makeover, or if you're making over a brand or a presentation or a pitch, you're rewriting something metaphorically or physically in your life to better reflect what the authentic story is, the Emperor is going to help us turn that critical eye, that business eye inward and be like, what's working and what's not working? And how can we really refine our company's, quote unquote, internal company's mission statement? And that also could have something to do with a collective outside of you as well, with our 10 of Cups card moving in with the Leo Sun energy. So there could be an opportunity to connect to a community around whatever goal, project, or desire you're working towards. If it's personal, like if you are doing like an aesthetic change, that community could be the people that you call upon to help with that, stylists or, you know, I meant stylists as fashion stylists, but fashion stylists or hairstylists or makeup artists or, you know, like whatever it is that you're consulting with to help move that energy and that momentum forward. Could be a Pinterest board, whatever that is. And then there's also a community around if we're doing any sort of like business, branding, or life goal movement forward. Find a sense of community, but review what it is that your mission statement is so that you know what direction you're taking that community with you, wherever that might be. I feel like there might have been something more for that card. It is our second major arcana of the week, both of which are reversed. We have 3 major arcana, spoiler, and they're all reversed. So this is telling me that fate is at play in the energy that we have unfolding this week. But because of Mercury retrograde and the other retrogrades that we've encountered throughout this month, it is moving a little slower, being a little more mysterious about its actions. This feels like almost like a serendipitous type energy, and that like fate is playing, but like it's almost kind of playing with you as well. Like it's playing a game of hide and seek with what it is that it has in store for you. And that doesn't mean that there's still not the hand of fate, guides, whatever you want to believe in, kind of pushing you forward, pushing you towards where you're meant to be. But it's almost has a sense of humor about it, which is appropriate for that Leo season energy. There's definitely a feeling of, if you've ever watched the movie Serendipity, they convey this pretty well, and that like 2 people were meant to meet, but they're like constantly almost meeting and like in a very hilarious way missing one another, but then they finally meet and it's the right time. So this is kind of the energy that I'm getting for this Leo season, Mercury retrograde and Leo energy at the same time. P.S. This week especially, check where you have Leo in your chart. If you know your rising sign, that is house 1. And then if you just think of the signs in order as they happen around the calendar year, you can count from your rising sign over to Leo, find out what number that is. That's the house that it's going to be occurring a lot of stuff in this week. And that is going to be the area of your life that's going to be most influenced by the sun moving into Leo, by the Leo new moon, and by the fact that Mercury is currently retrograde in Leo. Spoiler, if you're an Aquarius rising like me, all of this is happening in the relationship sector of your chart. So there is an element of Mercury retrograde has a joke that, you know, your exes come out of the woodwork and want to reconnect or get back together or whatever. And for those that are Aquarius risings, that is a little more likely to happen because the Mercury retrograde is happening in your relationship sector. Not as likely as if it were a Venus retrograde, but with Mercury retrograde, it is about communication because it's in your relationship sector. Some relationships could come back around from the past that are communicating once more, reconnecting with the communication aspect of things. Interestingly enough, we're moving from that energy into a cups card because it's weird that I went off on a tangent about relationship styles. So I think that that's going to be relevant for everyone, not just our Aquarius risings this week, but especially for the Aquarius risings. When we move into Thursday, we have our Leo new moon. So again, check where Leo is in your chart. And that's an area that's kind of ripe for manifestation this week. So if you want to call something in the next 6 months in that area of your life, get really, really clear on what that's going to look, feel, and be like, as if you were already living it. Great time to script in a journal. Just write your life like you're a fiction writer writing your ideal future and see how that unfolds in the next 6 months. That is happening at 2:10 p.m. That's our Leo new moon time period. Again, Central Standard Time in America. Before that, we have a couple of different movements. We have the Sun trine Saturn. So our sense of identity and our life lessons are kind of playing well together. And then we have the Sun trine Neptune. So our sense of self and our sort of like daydreams for the future are also playing well together. And that is right between those. The moon is moving into Leo because it's going to be the Leo new moon later after that. So from the morning hours into the afternoon, there's definitely this feeling of like your sense of self, your life lessons, and your dreams for the future are all kind of like being brought into this cauldron and brought to a boil to see what kind of spells you can cook up from all of that. We also have this idea of that Leo new moon, again, manifesting whatever it is, or starting the manifestation process of whatever it is that your Leo house is in. If you don't know your rising sign, you don't know the house, Leo is the energy of connection, flirtation, being seen, being out in the world, being unapologetic about your aesthetic. There's all of that energy that you can just do manifestations around as well. The card of the day is the Cups card reversed. So we had the Ace of Cups last week in the upright position towards the end of the week. This is reversed in a way that makes me want to blame Mercury retrograde. This feels like we do have the opportunity for a really beautiful flowing of new-ish beginnings. It feels like it could be new as in like maybe we were introduced to them last week or introduced to the idea last week and it's coming back around, or because of that Mercury retrograde, maybe something from our past in regards to love, romance, creativity, and art is coming back around because of that Mercury retrograde. It's being recommunicated to our psyche so that we can follow through on something that we thought we had put down and left behind. That was a lot of information, and I don't remember where that tangent was taking us, but I feel like that was the bulk of what I was supposed to say about this card. So something's coming back around. And again, Mercury retrograde, it's an opportunity to rewrite, revise, redo something in a better format than what the original idea might have looked like. So if this is a person that you either recently met or from your past that's coming back around to try and reconnect in a romantic style, this could be that you're having the opportunity to rewrite what that's going to look like. You could do that with scripting for the new moon scripting exercise of scripting your future, or it could also be like a collaboration with a partner. If you're getting back together with a partner from your past and things didn't go well, I mean, I had someone give me really good advice years ago that's like, an ex is usually an ex for a reason. So reuniting with an ex is not usually recommended. But if that's working for you and it feels authentic, you're going to want to rewrite the rules to your relationship to make sure that whatever happened in the past isn't going to be like just repeating itself in this situation. Like, what do you want the new version of this relationship to look like? And can you both get on the same page for that? This could also be redoing a creative project or revisiting a creative project that you put down. Again, it feels very internal. This isn't about pitching things to the world just yet. It's about revising it and making it really reflect your current life's mission statement, because we have a lot of that coming up with the North Node this week. So what is your mission statement? What do you want to do in this life? It doesn't have to be big and grandiose. It can be a personalized, I want to live my life this way type statement, and trust that that will rip out into the world in some way that will do the world good as well. But What is your mission statement? What is the most important to you? How do you want to leave your mark on the world, be it big or small? That's going to be guiding you this week through whatever it is that you're revising. Friday, we have the Sun opposite Pluto, which hilariously feels really appropriate for our card, as does Mercury square Lilith. So Sun opposite Pluto, sense of self is kind of opposite, not working well with our Pluto big grandiose change. That also kind of has to do with ends and death and the subconscious. And then we have Mercury, planet of communication, when it's currently retrograde in Leo, square, kind of butting up against Lilith, the version of ourselves that's been deemed inappropriate by society. So it's going to be really hard to fully embody the change, the transformation, the unapologetic version of yourself that you want to be in the world on Friday. Those challenges are going to start coming up in the early morning hours. And I think that's why we have the card of the Nine of Swords, but reversed, which I see as a positive sign. The Nine of Swords is that energy of worry and stress, just keeping us up at night. And the reminder that I always like to give this card is one, it's swords. It's about your mind, your mental state, the things you're thinking. You have control over those things, even if it feels like you don't. So if you can train your mind, meditation is a great way to do it, to focus on certain things and leave other things alone, that's going to really help you, especially with those things that are keeping you up, spinning your wheels in your head at night. When it's reversed, I feel like we're already working to leave this energy behind. This might have been a more recent energy. And as we move through this Sun opposite Pluto, Mercury square Lilith, I think we're going to start to let some of those worries go, particularly around the story of what will other people think. That's what I'm getting the most from this card. We're letting go of the worries of what the outside world is going to think or say about us. That's important. Say about us, not just what they think. Because I feel like for someone or a lot of us listening, we don't really care what they think. But if they say it and other people can hear them talk about us that way, that becomes more fear-based, more hurtful, more damaging to our reputations. But we're letting go of that. We're letting people that don't like peaches not like peaches, even if you're the ripest, juiciest peach in all the land. We're letting people not like your cup of tea because they prefer coffee. Like, we're letting people like what they like, say what they want to say, and trusting that you will find the people that you are for. There's a little Instagram thing that's coming forward in my mind right now, which is sort of related to this, but I feel like a message that needs to be said here. It comes from that phrase, sometimes you're not everyone's cup of tea, but the way that it's said is, maybe you're not everyone's cup of tea because you're ayahuasca. And in order for people to be able to appreciate you, they have to be willing to go through big life changes. And some people are not ready for that. So that's also an energy that's coming through as a message for someone here. And that, like, you're not caring what the world thinks or says about you because you recognize the benefit that you have for the people that are ready for you. And if someone's not ready for that life-changing experience, they will not like you that much. They're not ready. So they definitely are going to push away what they're not ready for. And that's not your problem. Okay, Friday is done. So Saturday we have the moon moving into Virgo. I think the moon moved. Oh yeah, the moon moved into Leo before the new moon. I was like, there was a moon movement at some point during the week. Moon's moving into Virgo. So we're going from that sort of like Leo, moon and Leo energy, a little more showy, a little more social, into moon and Virgo, a little more analytical, a little more planning based. It's a good energy. I'm just random messages coming through for my vast knowledge of all these things. For someone needs to know that the moon in Virgo is a good time to do chemically treated things to your hair and have it be relatively healthy. So if you're not familiar, you can do haircuts, hairstylings according to the moon, as to whether you want it to grow faster, if you want it to be healthier, whatever. But different phases of the moon are going to affect our hair and the way that they respond to treatments differently. So I usually love to cut my hair on a Leo moon because Leo is great for hair. And the only time that I try to avoid that is I may not be doing it underneath this Leo new moon because sometimes the new moon's not the best time for hair. So if you want to look into that, you can Google lunar haircut calendar and you can find a lot of that information. But because the moon is moving into Virgo, I feel called to tell someone, if you were thinking about dyeing your hair, again, mostly chemical stuff for the Virgo energy. You're thinking about doing something chemical to your hair, feel like someone wants to go like blonde from brown, like some big change. Or maybe you're just going to even try out something small, like a coloring conditioner. That would be moon and Virgo time period. But especially if you're going like the harsher treatments for like bleach or perms. Does anybody get perms anymore? And then like chemical straightening, things like that. It's going to be less damaging when the moon is in Virgo. The card for that day is the Wheel of Fortune. So we're going to get off the topic of hair color and we're going to get into our more life-based energy because this is, again, a major arcana card in a reverse position. So serendipity, sense of humor from the fates is definitely at play, especially with the Wheel of Fortune card. So the hands at fate are at play. The wheel is always moving forward, but we all have upswings and downswings on that wheel. So like if you feel like you're having a really good time lately, soak it up, enjoy it, embody it in your cells so that when you get to a downswing on the wheel that inevitably comes around from moving forward in life, you will be able to withstand that down swoop because you have the sustainability, the nourishment, the memory of the upswing to keep you going because you know you're going to come back up to the top eventually. It's going to be even better than it was the last time. So trusting the process, knowing that everything is a temporary state, both good and bad. Especially I'm getting a message for those of you that might be coping with depression. I've been there. I feel you. And the thing that I always like to remind myself is how quickly those moods can subside, even though they feel like an eternity. So I highly recommend the practice of journaling because it's a really important way to be able to keep track of your emotions and how they feel and how quickly they shift. If you are, and I have an advice column that I'm writing about this in the next week and a half that will be posted. If you are dealing with depression, first of all, please seek out any professional help if you feel you need to, but also remember that everything is a temporary state. And if you can start to know how quickly your moods shift, it's going to help to remind yourself of that fact easier because I know it feels like an empty statement for me to say it, but I know from my own personal experience of keeping track, I will feel like I've been depressed forever whenever I get in those moods. Like I don't remember a time when I didn't feel this way. And if I look at my journal entries and I count up how long it's usually taken me to go from feeling absolutely depressed into the other side of the tunnel, it's usually like 24 to 48 hours. But it feels like I've been there forever and I'm never going to get out when I'm in the thick of it. So remember that this is temporary. And if you want an extra exercise, keep track of how long this happens. And the second that your mood starts to lift, starts to change, mark that down so that you know what your timeline is for the downswings. And that can sustain you a little bit longer as you wait for the upswing. That got a little heavier than I was expecting it to be for a weekend, but also keeping in mind that the hands of fate are play. And if you have a sense of humor about things, there will be reason to laugh in the way that things are being kind of stalled or delayed or kind of confused during this Mercury retrograde. Try to find the sense of humor about it for sure. Sunday, quieter in the astrology, and our card to end the week is the Six of Cups. So this feels very nostalgic. I mean, it always feels nostalgic, but specifically nostalgic summer energy. Again, regardless of your place in the world, there's a feeling of having this sense of inner child play, of dipping back into the things that you really enjoyed, that make you feel alive, that made you feel happy, made you feel cared for during your childhood, and bringing some of those things into your day-to-day life in your world now. And there is an element here of reparenting yourself, reparenting your inner child. There's a feeling of bringing stuff that felt cozy and safe and good and fun from your childhood into your adulthood, where then you can shift any storylines around mistakes that caregivers made, anything that happened with your peers that may have tainted this situation. You can create a better environment for yourself to enjoy the things that you enjoyed on an even deeper level because you've created a safe space for it. So that's a beautiful way to end the week. I do want to really reflect upon the idea that there is this element of like, we're ready to have fun, but things are coming in slowly. And I want you to keep that in mind. We didn't get super heavy with the energy until the weekend. So enjoy the start of Leo season energy. Be okay with the fact that things are unfolding slowly. Like, think of it as like, I was going to say an ice cream cone on a warm day, but then you're kind of trying to beat the clock because the ice cream cone is melting. Think about an ice cream cone on a tepid day where it's not too warm, not too cold, but you can enjoy the ice cream without worrying about it melting too quickly. And you just want to savor every bite. So savor this treat as we move through Leo season, even with the feeling of things being a little slower moving with Mercury and Leo going retrograde. Okay, I'm going to pull out my little name generator here. So if you're new here, basically what happens is at the end of all of these readings, I do a random spin on the wheel. That's just a generator that I found online of all the names that have either been a paid subscriber on the Substack or tipped their reader during the previous week. I'm starting to lose my voice, so whoever I'm about to read for, we're doing some throat chakra work, so we'll get to that in a second. Let me just check my list of names because I believe I need to edit from last week's spin. So let me edit out, I believe it's Francis won last week, so we're going to edit Francis. We're going to add Caitlin back in, and I do like to do thank yous for everyone that's on this list. So thank you to Francis, for Caitlin, for Tracy, for Sonia, for Amanda, and for Holly for being regular paid subscribers, because that means the world to me that you have continually committed to supporting this channel and also to maybe getting free readings. But thank you for that support. If you want to join them in supporting this channel, supporting these readings and getting these little drawings, you can join the Substack as a paid member at $5 a month or $50 for the entire year. Or if you want to just do a one-time tip of $1 or more, there are links below this video where you can tip your reader via Venmo, PayPal, many different options. So let me spin the wheel. I just put all those names and then put down the things. So let's see who actually won the reading. And we're going to just spin and see who comes up. Sonia, oh, I'm so happy for you. You just became a paid subscriber last week, and on the second wheel spin, you get your readings. So, Sonia, thank you for being a new paid subscriber. I do appreciate your support. It was lovely to see your name come up again. And I am going to do the same deck that we did our weekly reading with. Again, I want to reiterate, there is something going on with your throat chakra. I'm going to take a sip of water just so I can kind of de-harsh this a little bit. But I usually pick up energetically on this person that I'm reading for, even before I know who it is, because the energy knows. And definitely started feeling that harshness in my throat as I was getting ready to do the wheel spin. So there's a couple things that are coming through with that. I mean, throat chakra is always communicating yourself, communicating your emotions, communicating your opinions, asserting yourself with your voice. We have a card that flew out. So that's going to be our first card when we get to it. But let me reach down and pull that up. Regarding communication, there's a feeling that you are under communicating what actually needs to be said and over communicating things that either don't need to be said or that aren't actually what you believe. So there's a feeling here of you're in some situations right now where you don't feel like you can reveal your true emotions, your true opinions about something. And that's what's really called for right now. Like, you're talking a lot, but you're not saying a lot is the energy that's coming through with this. So this could be a friendship. It could be a relationship. It could be a business collaboration. I'm leaning a little more towards businessy collaboration, but that also could be applied to sort of a partnership that you spend a lot of time with a person and it feels like you're running your business of two. There's a feeling of communicating what you really need to communicate. Like, say what you really mean and what you really feel, and stop talking around it. That's what it feels like. It feels like you're making small talk to avoid talking about the thing that you really need to talk about. And it's harshing out your throat chakra, and you're going to save yourself so much time and so much energy if you just get to the point and you say what you really feel and what you really mean, and stop talking about all the other bullshit that doesn't matter. That's what I'm getting from that, actually. We have our first card that came out for your recent past, but I'm going to continue pulling the rest of them to find out what the rest of the past, present, future reading is. And we got jumpers for both of them. Okay. Interesting. I'm getting that you, and I'll get to the specifics of the card in just a moment, Sonia, it feels like you recently or currently or in the very near future, because it feels like it's a blanket over all of these cards, there's an energy of getting out of a toxic situation. So maybe this is a toxic relationship that you need to say what you feel and say that you're out, that you're walking away. I'm getting it could be romantic, or it could be like familial, like a really close family member or something like that that's been toxic. Could be a close friend as well that feels like family. This is where we started last week of me trying to do less about relying on the cards and more about relying on what my actual intuition is telling me, and I'm definitely getting a lot of hits here. So there's a toxic situation, a toxic connection. Could be a work situation as well. So it could be a situation that you're in, or it could be a relationship, and it's probably a little bit of both. If the situation feels toxic, it's because there's a relationship there that feels toxic, and you're getting to the point that you're ready to walk away. If you haven't already, I feel like if you have already, there's loose ends that you're still tying up during this Mercury retrograde, but something that wasn't good for you, that wasn't serving the energy that you want to move towards. Even if the person was lovely, there's an energy that you're trying to move towards that something was not serving. And it was toxic to your ultimate goals, your north node, your calling. And you just needed to peacefully walk away from that situation. The beginning of this reading comes through with the past of the Five of Pentacles, which is a fear of being left out in the cold, of saying what you need to say, of how you really feel, and never finding community again, never finding connection again, never being able to make enough money again. Like, whatever the situation style that you're walking away from, it's the opposite of our Leo season 10 of Cups. Like, this is a fear that none of that will ever come to you again if you change your circumstance right now. And I'm going to tell you that fear is wrong. That's just, again, what was in the recent past keeping you from walking away from this situation. In the present, we have the Justice card reversed. So continuing from our weekly reading, we have another reversed major arcana. So fate is at play, but it has a sense of humor. It's coming out a little bit fuddled, but it's okay. Like, find the sense of humor about it. The Justice card is sort of like a division of things. It can be like a divorce card in an actual marriage. If there's something legal that needs to be separated out in a job situation, in a relationship, this is potentially calling in legal action to separate those things. But at the very least, it's finding a definite separation of things that are splitting off into where you want to go from where you previously were. So this is about finding balance, being patient with the process, because again, Mercury is retrograde, and being able to let go of the things that truly don't serve you. And I mean this kind of twofold. I mean that in walking away from a toxic situation, you're letting go of things that aren't serving you. But also, like, if we use divorce as a metaphor, there's a feeling of not dragging out the process to like split up belongings and things like that unnecessarily. Like, the scene that's playing in my head with this card, whether it be literally about a divorce or about a metaphor being used that's a divorce, is in Eat, Pray, Love. Happens in both the book and the movie. But if we want to talk the movie, Julia Roberts playing Elizabeth Gilbert in Eat, Pray, Love gets to the negotiations for her divorce. And her ex-husband, or soon-to-be ex-husband, is making it absolutely impossible for this to happen, asking for the world because he doesn't want the divorce to happen. And so she gets to the point where she just says, take everything. And she is okay with walking away with nothing material from the relationship as long as she gets her path forward to where she knows that she's supposed to be. So that's the energy behind this card. Again, whether it's a literal divorce or some other thing that is representing, the way forward may not be to like nickel and dime your way through the process. So recognize, again, speaking from our weekly reading, your mission statement. Recognize what your true goal is from the situation, what you absolutely want to walk away or walk towards. And also recognize the things that are more negotiable. That if you can have your freedom, you're willing to let these littler things go. And you're willing to leave a few things behind. And I think that's going to help you speed along the process of moving away from this toxic situation. Like, what do you really value? What do you have to take with you? And what can you leave behind in honor of what you're gaining? Moving into the future, we have the Eight of Swords reversed. So this does tell me you're getting out of this toxic situation. The Eight of Swords is a card of reminding you that you're always in control, because again, swords are about our own internal state, the way that we view a situation. And the Eight of Swords specifically is a feeling of, when it's upright, feeling trapped, but not realizing how easy it is to escape the situation. Like, this individual is tied up, she's blindfolded, she's got swords around her, but the ropes aren't that tight. She could wiggle out of them. She could slip the blindfold off. And then there's a path through the swords that she could walk through. So even though she might think that she is trapped, she has more power than she believes. And if she just shifts her perspective towards that power, she can walk away. So with it reversed, I see that you are walking away from this toxic situation. So in the very near future, or maybe even right of the week of this reading, you're making a transition away from something toxic, be it a situation or relationship. And that was echoed when I peeked underneath the deck, because the Devil card reversed is like the major arcana version of the Eight of Swords reversed, and that you are walking away from a toxic situation. You are going to get out of this. You just have to recognize your power. You have to recognize the things that you're willing to leave behind. And you have to recognize what you're walking towards. Because just like our Wheel of Fortune reversed in the weekend cards, you want to remember why it's all worth the process of this. Like, why this letting go process, this walking away process is worthwhile. And if you know your goal of what you're walking towards, it makes it easier to walk away from the things that you don't need. So recognize your goals, your mission statement, your path forward. Again, it doesn't have to be a grand life mission. It can be something really simple, but you have to have a goal to keep you motivated. I hope that reading served you well, Sonia. I am going to do one more card. So I'm going to pull you a Total Betty Goddess from the Total Betty 90s Goddess deck. We're just going to see what kind of divine feminine energy is assisting you during this transition. And whoever wants to hop out is who we're going to go. Oh, we almost had a hopper there. We're going to go with this one. She's stuck in my hand. I love this. So your Total Betty Goddess is Adrastea, which I'm probably butchering, but played by 90s Gwen Stefani during her No Doubt days. And she is about breaking out of the box that you find yourself in. So there's this feeling of not being just a girl anymore, not being what people expect of you, and kind of redefining the mold that you put yourself in as you move forward, and letting go of what the outside world might think of you, as we talked about in our Friday card of the Nine of Swords reversed. This has to be about your passionate drive towards something, not about what people are going to think or say about you. So break yourself out of the box, create your own mold, move forward unapologetically. You got this. You got this. Sending you a little bit of love to your throat chakra so that you hopefully have more courage and more clarity to say what it is that you need to say at your heart's truest desire to get you out of this situation that you need to get out of. And if you need anything else, you know where to find me. And if you watch beyond this because you want to see if your energy was also mingled in with Sonia's energy, thank you, thank you, thank you for everyone that's viewing this channel. Again, if you want to be in next week's reading drawing, you can become a paid subscriber or tip your reader. And if you want a personalized reading for 50% off, you can head over to michelleshaywalker.com and book a reading with the code FIRSTTIME, 1STTIME, to get 50% off of that reading. Thank you and have a lovely start to Leo season.